A new Toronto Raptors season is about to be upon us. We've kind of already touched on it. Like, the way I want to describe this season is that there are no more excuses. It is time for this team to show up. So, what does showing up look like for this team? What should our expectations be of this team? What do they need to hit for this to be a successful season? Let's talk it all through. I want to talk about rotation, how they're going to start the season rotation-wise, and then from there, what decisions they'll make along the way in terms of decreasing rotation, what sort of trades they can make, how they'll be looking to approach the trade deadline. Then we'll talk about how many wins I think they'll get, how they open the season, how difficult that may be, and to finish, if this team can make the playoffs and what a successful season looks like. Does it have to be a playoff appearance? Let's touch on all of that. So, open night roster is set. We have Vivek Jacob, who posted the full complete roster ahead of the upcoming season. Some players got waived. Ulrich Chomsche no longer with the team. AJ Lawson got waived and actually took Ulrich Chomsche's two-way spot. So AJ Lawson is with the team. But AJ Lawson, Elijah Martin, Chucky Hepburn, other players who got the two-way contracts. Raptors decided to go with 14 players on their roster rather than 15. Bit of a cost-cutting maneuver. Typically, the 15th player on the roster isn't exactly affecting things, so it's okay that they wanted to not go with that player. I'm completely fine with that. But as we see with the roster here, what sticks out to me is that, there were like 2-3 years ago seasons that we went in, and I was thinking like, yeah, I see the 5 starters. I can see a couple guys coming off the bench. But beyond that, it was feeling like every rotation you came up with, as thin as you could be, like 9-man rotation, there were 2 guys in the 9-man rotation I thought were not worthy of NBA caliber minutes. Now it kind of feels like to me there's at least 11, maybe 12, probably even 13 players who are worthy of said NBA minutes. Not everyone is going to get it. We keep kind of talking about this. The starters write themselves. The starters are obviously going to be Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Jakob Poeltl. That is your 5-man starting unit. Off of the bench, who are we going to see? Darko Rajakovic has hinted that the Raptors want to start with an 11-man rotation. So if they do decide to go with an 11-man rotation, Jamal Shedd's going to be the point guard coming off the bench because he's the only other point guard that the Raptors have. So that is going to end up happening. I think we will see both of Jacoby Walter and Grady Dick. Surely Grady Dick. I think we will see Ochai Agbaji because he brings something to the team that they don't have enough of, which is shooting and defense. I think Sandro Mamukelashvili was impressive enough in preseason to really have locked down a rotation role. And then there's kind of one more spot to get a player involved in there. And I really feel like it has to be Colin Murray-Boyles as the 6th player there. The players missing out on rotation minutes then become Jamison Battle and Jonathan Mobo. Battle kind of struggled for playtime in preseason. Mobo got a bunch. I don't think wowed me enough to take over for anybody else. Then you'll also have the roster rounded off by Garrett Temple, who we know is not necessarily there for what he is going to bring to the on-court stuff. But I can't really see any spot for Battle or Mobo. Mobo, I'm not like, damn, we can't get, respectfully, I'm not like, damn, we can't get Jonathan Mobo any minutes. Battle, I kind of feel like it'd be nice if we could, but it doesn't feel like we can. Obviously, injuries can and likely will happen for the team, so these guys have to be ready. But that's how I kind of feel for the 11-man rotation. So where do we go beyond that 11-man rotation? How does this progress through the season? Because if you want to be a serious team, you got to start to trim that down a little bit more. I think, in the end, you probably want to be running 9-man rotation. What does that look like? Probably still Jamal Shead, but I think not quite as safe because I wasn't particularly impressed with his preseason. They may have other guys initiate for these bench lineups. Like Scotty Barnes can play with some bench guys and initiate. I think even RJ Barrett has done a decent job at that. Quickly could get in there. Then you have more Barnes initiating for the first unit, let's say, and all these different mixtures of minutes that you could come up with. So Jamal Shead isn't necessarily safe. I think Walter wasn't great in preseason, so he could still drop out. Grady Dick underwhelmed a little bit in preseason. I've talked a lot about how I don't think his minutes are completely safe. Abaji could get traded, and that could be one of the deadline day moves the Raptors make to kind of circumvent any tax implications, though not very large. It could circumvent some tax implications for the team. Murray Boyles, I think, showed that he's NBA ready. I don't even think he'll need time in the G League. I think he's ready to play NBA minutes, and Mamu Kilishvili has looked pretty good as well. So on like trimming down the rotation, I don't really know where the trimming comes from. If everyone's healthy, if I had to absolutely choose two players, it might actually be Walter and Shed who struggle for minutes. Maybe less Shed because of the positional need, which would then drop. I mean, I don't even know. I don't think it can drop Abaji. Is Grady Dick the surprise dropout? I don't know. Maybe you guys can present some of your thoughts there, but it's really difficult to come up with a 9-10-man rotation here. I think it's relatively easy for me to cut down from Mobo and Battle, but beyond that, I think it is going to be incredibly difficult for the team. But out the gate, I expect to see an 11-man rotation for the Raptors. And trades, I think they'll try to move Barrett. I don't think they'll be successful. I think Barrett's a good player. I just don't think there's a big market for him. So I think you're better off if you want to be winning team for the Raptors season. I think you're better off just using him. Kind of a shame with the expiring contract and what you do there, because it's going to be a difficult offseason and you may lose him for nothing. And there's just no real appetite for teams to trade for him. That's just a real struggle that the Raptors are facing there. So I think you got yourself in a pinch. You're better off if you're trying to win keeping him and seeing what you can do in the offseason with that. I'm not sure. Abaji is the biggest candidate to trade, which is kind of a shame because he's expiring contract. He's up for his rookie extension because he's still on his rookie deal. I really like what Abaji brings to the team, but I think that's the most obvious trade candidate to save a bit of money, and I kind of expect the Raptors to take that sort of position. So trades, I don't see any big ones happening, to be honest. I don't see the Raptors being buyers. They can't really afford to be with the current cap situation. I don't see a lot of major changes happening to the Raptors. So let's dig into now win predictions, how many wins we think the Raptors can and should get this season. Over the course of the offseason, we've really seen the Raptors win totals climb and climb on sportsbooks. And these are pretty good indications, especially right before the season starts, of where we think the Raptors will end up win-wise. These markets opened up at like 32.5, which I thought were extraordinarily low, and they've just gone higher and higher and higher as the offseason has gone on. We're now at the point where the expectation is the Raptors are going to win 40 games. That's the projection right now. All offseason, I've kind of floated around 39, 40 wins. Now we're kind of getting to that point with sportsbooks as well. 39, 40 wins. I think that's realistic. I think they're capable of winning more than that if they have a really good year. But I think that's realistic. Like, I see a lot of chatter out there from Raptors fans online, in social media, who kind of think that this is a team that's just going to easily make the playoffs in a weak Eastern Conference. And it's just about how high they're going to finish in those playoff positions. I have to disagree quite a bit. I think this is really going to be a grind of a season. This is going to be a really tough season for the Raptors to get to those goals and get to those playoff positions, because 40 wins, that's not a top 6 seed. That's a play-in seed. And we've been in the play-in tournament before. We know the variance that could happen with like what could be a one-and-done type of game, or you need to win 2 in a row, or even like 2 games you have to win one of them. Like, it's a complicated system to get through as well for the team. That's not necessarily something that's just going to work out for them like that. Like, there are still spacing issues with the team. The bench, there was a lot of good players, but is it top heavy enough? Is there enough support there? Like, preseason, there was like offensive fit with the starters. It looked clunky. Like, I thought it would all off season, and they need to work out kinks there. And sure, that could happen over the course of the season, but I don't really know what the fix is when you have all 5 starters on and you have 2 players who sag off of Pirtle and Barnes on defense and just completely congest the paint. There's just not a simple fix to that. So I don't know what's going to be the fix if one arises, but there's enough talent on this team to kind of push them through some of these struggles. And as far as playoffs are concerned, 40 wins, that probably puts you in the play-in tournament. And based on odds, and I would probably also say the similar. Odds are saying the Raptors have pretty much a 50-50 shot at making the playoffs. it's about 50-50. And half of the simulations, they'll make the playoffs, and half of them they won't. I kind of feel like I'd want to give them a touch over 50% chance of making the playoffs, but we're not far off here. I think that the team is going to have to work extraordinarily hard in order to get into the playoffs and reach the playoffs this season. Schedule-wise, to start the season, starting the season well is important. Just get the morale going, get the vibes going. Not doing the Raptors a ton of favors, I'm going to be completely honest here. Out the gates for the Raptors, it's the Hawks on the road, Bucks at home, Mavericks away, Spurs away, home to Rockets, away to Cleveland, home to Grizzlies, and home to Bucks. That's 8, so 2 more. Then away at Atlanta again, away at Philly. That's not a super kind start to the season either. Like, Hawks are going to be good this season, I think. Better than the Raptors. Bucks still have Giannis and still have some talent. That's not going to be an easy game, but maybe winnable. The Mavericks, I mean, Cooper Flag looks great. The Mavericks, they could be a decent team again. The Spurs with Wemby will be a challenge. The Rockets were a 2 seed last year and added Kevin Durant. The Cavaliers are the best team in the East. The Grizzlies are a competitive team. Bucks again, Hawks again, and the Sixers should improve this season. Like, I don't look at this and see like a very clear win for the Raptors. If the Raptors came out of the first 10 games 500, I'd be pretty happy. I'd be pretty happy. I want to say really happy. But 3-7, 4-6 could be on the cards. 6-4 could be on the cards if they start really well, and that'd be great, and that would really propel them forward into potentially a good season. But it's not a super kind start to the season as well. So for me, like I said, I'm predicting 39-40 wins, and I am predicting the Raptors get into the playoffs via the play-in tournament. I think that's how the season is going to go down. What would be a determination of success? I think that success and failure of the team this season hinges on playoffs. If you make the playoffs, success. If you don't, I think that is not a success. That is failure is maybe too strong of a word, but like I said to start this segment, there's no more excuses here. We can no longer be making excuses for this team. Darko's had 2 years with this group. He has not won games in those 2 years. It's time to start winning games in year 3. Scotty Barnes is no longer on a rookie contract. He's on a max contract. It's time to start being more consistent. Quickly's in year 2 of his big contract. It is time to start being more consistent. Barrett's in a contract year. It's time to showcase what he's going to be. Is he going to be a winning player that teams can rely on at the top of the NBA standings? Showcase that. Brandon Ingram is on a big contract. A lot of investment into him. He's got to start start. He's always been pretty good, but he's got to showcase stuff. He's got to live up to the billing there. Grady Dick in year 3, like we're getting a little bit less lenient with development there. Front office, they've invested. This is an expensive team. This is an expensive team that has supposedly a 50-50 chance of making the playoffs. Like, we should be a lot more assured of that in a weaker Eastern Conference. So, no more excuses. It's time for the team to show up. It's time for the team to get into the playoffs. Plain and simple.